The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. This is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. It's done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. The next stage is destabilization. It takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. What matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have normalization.
A rimple, a dimple, a jimple as I do. Everybody, guys, we need to be careful. The world, I don't know what the hell that intro was. I'm being programmed by the KGB. I'm Tyler Traveling Clout, your favorite sweet Zionist prince. If you want to be a sweet Zionist prince like me, get the shirt down below the description, or princess. You can get it at thetravelingclout.com. Let's just see what the heck this is.
You spoke several times before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage intelligence gathering looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers. But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place, and
yes,
who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be the greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already.
Yep, that is true.
For the last 25 years. Actually, it's overfulfilled because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation, what matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized." This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. He will go to Moscow to kiss the bottoms of new generation of Soviet assassins. Never mind, he will create false illusions that the situation is under control. Situation is not under control. Situation is disgustingly out of control. Most of the American politicians, media, and educational system trains another generation of people who think they are living at a peacetime. False. The United States is in the state of war, undeclared total war against the basic principles and the foundations of this system. And the initiator of this war is not Comrade Andropov, of course. It's the system. However ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system or the world communist conspiracy, whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you. But you don't have to be paranoid about it. What actually happens now, that unlike myself, you have literally several years to live on unless the United States wake up.
Yep.
The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to, unless you want to live in Antarctica with penguins. This is it. This is the last country of freedom and possibility.
Okay.
This is absolutely... I'm not going to watch the entire video because I think this is probably a good place to end it. But here's the deal. The rift that has happened in the United States of America, and like, I don't want to blame it. I mean, maybe I'll get a little heat for this. I don't want to blame it entirely on Russian disinformation and propaganda, because while I'm not going to deny that probably is a huge element as to why we're in the shit pickle we're in right now, there's a lot to be said about retarded Americans, just very dumb Americans. America is a country full of diversity, and there's a lot of really smart and amazing people. There's also a lot of very dumb people. I know many. I know many. I know many. I know too many. And there are some people who have just been convinced that the communist ideals are that of the way of the future. That is the way forward. And when there's a marketplace of ideas, and I notice this, a lot of the younger generation is able to be convinced that free is always the right way. I definitely fell into that pool when I was younger. 100%. I don't want to say I was a Bernie bro, but definitely in the first election, I heavily considered voting for Bernie because he was Jewish and because he was offering free shit when I was 18, 19 years old. And that sounded cool to me as somebody who was broke. But once I became a man and realized that's not how life works, you shift your perspective on things. And I think if we're not able to convince younger generations more thoroughly, especially now when younger people are becoming more matured at a younger age, right? At my age, I didn't have fucking TikTok. I had Vine. And Vine was just brain rot, but it was real. On TikTok, it's brain rot and none of it's real. And now with AI, you don't even know who the fuck's talking to you. You don't even know who the fuck is programming you. You don't even know who's giving you the ideas that you're getting. There's complete anonymity. There's zero paper trail, and we need to be careful. I don't know that I have the most amount of hope in the future to be able to dissuade between what's true and what's not. If I'm being completely honest with you, it's kind of terrifying. I'm not even 100% sure I understand how we get out of this pickle we're in. I don't know what the right idea is, because here's the reality. America's not going to get any more cohesive, right? Americans are not going to start kumbayaing and becoming closer with one another. That's just not going to happen. But America is somewhat of the last bastion of freedom we have left in the Western world. Europe is all but fallen at this point. Europe's gone. UK is faltering unless it can save itself. I'm not sure it will. Canada's long gone. What's left? New Zealand? Australia? They're not really the most free countries we can imagine. And if America heads the way of the rest of the Anglo white post colonial countries, post Commonwealth countries, we're in a real fucking pickle. I'll tell you guys that much. We're in a real fucking pickle. Because of brainwashing works so well when everybody is taught that they have to think and do the same exact thing in the same exact way. It's so effective. It is so fucking effective. I've seen it in so many societies around the world. It's shocking. So y'all better work and pray that America stays what America is supposed to be. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you a long time. Goodbye, clads. Man, these comment sections are insane. What do you mean? Literally every comment is just like making fun of Jewish people, saying some stupid shit like it was promised to them 3,000 years ago, kicked out of 109 countries, white colonizers, and then a bunch of Jews in the comment section getting triggered and calling it anti-Semitism.
It's bringing me down. Okay, well, here, take this. What's this? It's a white colonizer shirt from thetravelingclat.com. And here, take a matching hat. Why do you want me to wear this? Because when we laugh in their faces, it triggers them more. Like, for example, my grandparents were kicked out of Baghdad, Iraq. Right. So guess what? I'm your Baghdaddy. Get it? And boom, here's a hat with a kube on it. So you're saying when they make fun of us, just wear it? Precisely. What will trigger the stupid pro-pallies more than you proudly joining the 109 Club for being kicked out of 109 countries? Or are you openly embracing being a white colonizer? Or even just acknowledging that everything was promised to you 3,000 years ago? Don't run from it. Embrace it. Bet. TheTravelingClat.com. Embrace the meme, embrace the Jew hatred, and laugh in their face. TheTravelingClat.com.
If you don't want to buy any merchandise, the best way to support me is by donating on Buy Me a Coffee, my PayPal, or becoming a member on my Patreon. Your support is very much needed and very much appreciated. Thank you.